The Philosophy of Madara Uchiha for the Man with a Dream by Sage's Reign. Madara Uchiha, as many who have watched me for a while, is a very interesting character for me to delve into. And in regards to some of the feats, as I'll call them, I call him Deus Ex Madara for very good reasons. And his philosophy is interesting. While I have disagreements with points about his wake up to reality speech, which everybody and their brother loves to cite, oh, this is the best philosophy ever. Little too 2000s MCR emo for me. But Madara does have an interesting philosophy on reality in regards to the past, especially in the Warring States era, and having to be part of one of the two greatest warring clans of the era. He definitely has an interesting viewpoint on life. So I figured we'd get into what his philosophy actually was.
When a man learns to feel love, he must also bear the risk of feeling hate.
I'm going to not laugh. It's a serious video, Kip. You can't laugh.
From the first moment the statue of Hashirama and Madara was shown at the waterfall, it was hinted that Madara, whoever he was special. For us,
real quick, it was like 7 years from when he debuted in the Valley of the End in the manga to like when he debuted in Shippuden, like the war, the Fourth Great Ninja War. Like, Kishimoto really had an awesome, like, cool, we're going to give you breadcrumbs throughout the entirety of this, and then just bam, his reveal was very, very much hyped up, and this didn't disappoint. This fight scene against this entire platoon was amazing.
The audience, the name brought curiosity and a heap of questions. Regardless, that name was one we were sure to never forget. Before we get into Madara's story, I want to look at the reveal of the self-proclaimed savior of the shinobi. As noted, the time between when Madara was first hinted at and the time that he was revealed was over 300 episodes.
Yeah, he was.
During that time, his name had been thrown around, but when the true Madara Uchiha appeared, it paid off. He was the epitome of presence and confidence. This build-up to such an imposing figure paid off as we watched the Madara Uchiha effortlessly dispatch the allied shinobi forces.
Madara is the example of he can talk a big game, but he can also deliver the big game. The fight scenes are absolutely brutal. Like, this man is on a different level entirely. He is like, if you have your S tier like Kage, he is like S++. He is on a different level,
displaying an absolute mastery of the Sharingan that evolved into the Rinnegan in real time, and showed the difference between a shinobi and a god, when Madara pulled down meteors and reversed the Edo Tensei.
What are you gonna do? Oh, just summon meteors? You what? It was just such a, yeah, in the moment, like, he just summoned meteors. This man is just so built different. It's almost hilarious at times. I love it. This is like Sage's Reign is doing an amazing job here. I'm not going to discount. He's doing an amazing job. Madara and I have a very interesting track record. Let's put it that way.
This was a man on a mission, one that was carefully plotted in his younger days. The reason why Madara became the self-proclaimed savior of the world.
He moves in a lot of circles, actually. That's interesting.
Madara was born during the Warring States period, a time period where individuals only knew war as survival, and the oldest lifespan was about 30 years of age. At the time, the two legendary and most powerful clans of the land, the Uchiha and the Senju, were constantly at battle with each other. In Madara's youth, he would meet a young Hashirama Senju. This friendship lasted a short while as they would discover each other as the sons of the feuding clans. The two would go on to become leaders of their clans, as Tobirama, younger brother to Hashirama, killed Madara's last brother, Izuna. Hashirama offered his own life in exchange to spare Madara's, a sacrifice he was willing to make in order to end all conflict between Uchiha and Senju, something that would have a ripple effect on all the surrounding nations.
It did. Well, and that's the thing. If you have... Because people in the Warring States era, right, the different clans, they rallied by the end of it, to the Uchiha clan, or to the Senju clan. They were the two dominant forces in the Warring States era. So if the two clans decide, yeah, no, we're good, who's gonna tell them no? Like, who's going to be like, actually, I'm willing to keep fighting, and you're going to have both the Senju and the Uchiha on you, and you're just going to get, like, wiped off the planet.
Madara and Hashirama sought the same goal since their youth. That goal was peace. Their friendship was forbidden. There wasn't a way Uchiha and Senju could coexist with both sides having killed each other. And worst of all, the children of both sides were the most common victims of these battles. Both Madara and Hashirama started off with an entire family that was dwindled down to 2, and Tobirama took Madara's last. The Uchiha were known to be an emotional clan, and they seemed to have a deep-rooted sense of loyalty and family. Madara was skeptical and didn't trust any other village, and so he was interested in submitting the other nations to Konoha's will.
Oh my god. I completely forgot this was a scene. This is when Onoki was like, yeah, no, I fought Madara in the past. He was fine. He was powerful, yes, but I was able to deal with him just fine. And he's just like, does an adult really go full out against a child? Like, hello, Onoki? And Onoki's like, wait a minute. He was going easy on us? Wait, what? His entire just like perception of power scaling just goes out the window. So Madara just absolutely just smacks Onoki.
Whereas Hashirama sought peace through cooperation and trust of the other villages. Keep in mind, Madara was an Uchiha in solitude. With Izuna killed, he decided to pursue the Sharingan in its most evolved form. In that pursuit and in his loneliness, he would learn about the history of the shinobi, and the seemingly endless cycle of failure
Zetsu.
and the perceived destiny of conflict between the Uchiha and Senju that seemed eternal. On that stone tablet, Madara saw a life of endless suffering, conflict, and he saw peace that could never be achieved. So he challenged the now elected first Hokage, and died by his former friend's hand.
This is actually very interesting after going over Hashirama's philosophy, because at this point, Hashirama is a different person. This Hashirama is not the Hashirama Madara would have shaken hands with to end that Warring States era, to put an end to their differences, right? If this was the Hashirama at the battle, Madara would never have agreed to that truce, in my opinion. He is a different Hashirama.
But Madara planned ahead. He would awaken the Rinnegan by using a piece of Hashirama's flesh that he removed himself, to begin perfecting what was known as Madara's Eye of the Moon plan, or the Infinite Tsukuyomi.
Tsukinome.
Madara's current body grew older, and so he sought out a young Obito Uchiha to do his bidding for him.
That almost felt like a little bit of a Deus Ex Madara, because then it opens up interesting doors to what happens if Danzo was given enough time, right? If all that's required is Uchiha and Senju DNA working in tandem with each other and clearly enough time, could Obito have awoken the Rinnegan? Which I think there's a little more to it. I think that it might be tied to Indra and Ashura potentially giving Naruto, Sasuke, Madara, and Hashirama something a little more in regards to chakra. That might be it, but it does open up specifically with how it's delivered in Shippuden. If all that's required is an active Sharingan, specifically a Mangekyo, and you can bite off a piece of Hashirama, graft it onto yourself, and suddenly, at the end of your lifespan, you're opening the Rinnegan, right? Is anyone able to do this, or are other people not able to do this? It's kind of like how you get debate on if Naruto and Boruto could still go 6-path stage mode, where there's a lot of people citing he can't summon the Gododama. There's other people that cite he still has he lacks the Frog Kumite, the Frog Sclera, and he has 6-path stage mode Sclera. Like, there's a lot of debate on a lot of things in Naruto, which, I mean, it's good stories don't necessarily give you everything, but they give you enough to chew on, if that makes sense.
The child alone, and whose body was broken, Madara nursed him back to health and began plotting Obito's downfall, which was him watching the death of Rin by the hands of Kakashi, something that Madara orchestrated. The ghost of the Uchiha knew firsthand what pain and what darkness could lead a person to do, and Obito was the perfect candidate to carry out Madara's eternal dream.
Mm-hmm. It was.
Which led to his resurrection. The personality and later the philosophy of Madara Uchiha was something that was hardened and mainly built as a result of his childhood.
I think it's specifically Hashirama because no other Senju really has the ability to use Mokuton wood release. Because you look back to Tobirama, what was Tobirama's thing? Tobirama never used Mokuton. He never used wood release. He was Suiton, water release. And he was a very good practitioner of water release. But I think it's something, it's got to be how Hashirama, his DNA, and potentially Ashura's chakra mixed. Because he also has a unique Sage mode as well. I think Boruto went over his Sage mode in some capacity, but I'd have to actually double check.
Being surrounded by war and by conflict, Madara was already advanced as a shinobi, as he had already killed many adult Senju at such a young age. In his later years, he would find peace in combat. Throughout the endless conflict he witnessed, he and Hashirama quickly realized that the shinobi world didn't respect much. But the one thing it had no choice respecting was power.
Yeah.
With strength and with power, he and Hashirama would achieve the peace that they sought. Madara was competitive, and this would only grow as a result of Hashirama's equal competitive nature. And in his later years, we see that Madara came to revel at the idea of combat. The sights and the sounds of battle invigorated him. The ghost of the Uchiha was charismatic, and to those who he saw as weak, he was disrespectful, brushing his shoulders off at attacks aimed at him.
Chat. Wait, can the dead use Sage mode? Yes, we have canonical confirmation that Edo Tensei zombies can use Sage mode. Prime examples are being Hashirama and Madara both. They are able to use Sage mode.
Madara only respected those who were strong, and when Hashirama entered the fray during the...
Technically Minato as well. Minato, oh, I'm not good at Sage mode. Motherfucker. You are perfect Sage. You don't have the nose or the warts. You literally have the frog kumite that marks a perfect Sage. Get out of here with that, Minato.
Fourth Ninja War, Madara was evidently overjoyed by the presence of his rival's chakra. The first Hokage was someone who pushed him to be better. And so he would build up an impressive repertoire of jutsu and physical skills.
Battle junkies, why is it always the battle junkies? Because battle junkies take it a little too far. As somebody that I'd argue is a little bit of a battle junkie, there's something about being in full plate armor, because I have my Ming Dynasty plate armor I use for SCA, right? Oh god, I love it. It's actually getting cold enough I might wear it again. Armor gets hot. Especially plate armor on top of wearing like a Gambazin. It gets hot. But man, there's something about like getting smacked with a sword and you're just like, you know the scene of Crow from Ruby when Winter smacks him and he turns his head and his eye glints? God, that is such a mood. I've definitely experienced that. Because there's, I mean, it's, even without wearing armor, right? If someone gets, because we used to train with Boken a lot. Oh, sorry, not Boken. Shinai, how we use for Kendo. Because unironically, they kind of work for unarmored combat. You just don't thrust with them for obvious reasons. Yeah, no, I mean, like, you just smack somebody. And yeah, it's gonna hurt. Yeah, it's gonna like, you know, be a little uncomfortable. But sometimes you're just like, oh, baby, that was the good smack. And then you just go after him again. As somebody that is a battle junkie, if anyone in the comments section does SCA and knows exactly what I'm talking about, sound off.
Madara would become a force and one of the most powerful shinobi of all time. Again, though, loneliness left the self-proclaimed savior of the world untrusted. Upon reading about the failures of the shinobi, he would quickly lose hope for mankind, believing that Hashirama failed. This hopelessness really displayed the solitude that he caused himself by distancing himself not only from Hashirama, but from the rest of his clan. The first Hokage stood as the perfect foil to Madara and highlighted Madara's worst traits. Hashirama was filled with hope and with positivity, and especially hope for the new generation. Conversely, Madara was so convinced that this cycle couldn't be broken, so he decided he wouldn't let anyone get the chance to even try and break it. Madara was incredibly controlling. He wanted to do things by his own hand, never letting anyone stand behind him, which enters his Eye of the Moon plan. A plan that, in short, would place the world under a dream, under an eternal genjutsu, which creates a new world that would be molded by Madara Uchiha. He tells it as this.
I shall unify the entire world. I will create a world without hatred or war. Everything will become one with me. Everything will be united. A world of only victors. A world of only peace. A world of only love. I will create such a world.
His heart's in the right place for the most part, but the way he wants to go about it is the exact opposite way you would expect that to go. What he wants is a world where he's in control. He can dictate things for other people. He alone can change things. And it is a world of stagnation. You're going to have people that are cocooned, giving energy to the divine tree, and by extension him, and he's going to be able to just have them dream out their existence.
But it wasn't as though his
Firelord
plan
Ozai
was
wouldn't do
thoughtless.
this, I think. No, he would
Through his
not.
time spent alive, he seemed to be studying the individuals around him and their motivations.
People desire peace. And yet, on the other hand, they crave conflict as well. That duality is mankind for you.
This was very therapeutic for Madara to be able to just throw all of these chakra disturbance rods inside Tobirama. This was very therapeutic for him.
Madara speaks to it by calling it the world that Hashirama created, which is one that is inconsistent and incongruous, which he in turn is describing human nature. Madara did have Konoha's best interest at heart. At its core, his philosophy was geared towards achieving true peace, and that at one point was where his heart was focused towards. But during his time alone, with Hashirama as its current leader, and Tobirama groomed to be next in line, he saw the Uchiha's safety in jeopardy. As stated, loneliness plagued Madara's perfect vision, and so he would detach himself from the village and from his clan, and from Hashirama, to search for that peace. He decided that he would come back and achieve that peace through brute force. But the difference between Hashirama and Madara's peace was that Madara's peace looked backwards, whereas Hashirama's looked forward. Yes, Madara's plan undoes what he read on the stone tablet. The endless fighting and suffering would cease, but free will, hope, the ability for the shinobi to grow and to evolve as people would have been lost. His dream looks backwards because for him it brings back Izuna and all of his family, and undoes all of the work done towards achieving peace. Itachi and his selfless sacrifice and everything that the Hokage have done would have been for nothing. His plan is artificially created peace, or as Gaara calls it, peace born of illusion. Gaara continues to say that peace only holds true meaning if it is created in reality. Free will, the ability to make choices and to live how one wants to, with the burden and responsibility of each choice, is one of the core aspects of humanity.
Yeah.
With Madara's plan, he takes away the very essence of humanity and freedom in the shinobi world.
And that's really the challenge, isn't it? Is seeking that peace, seeking that next step, seeking an end to conflict, but doing so with free will intact, doing so with cognizance, doing so with the ability for realistically anybody to make change. Isn't that a whole lot harder than if we were just a hive mind? Isn't that a whole lot harder than if everybody just, was a certain way, had certain beliefs, was very streamlined into a specific way of thinking? That's the true challenge, is how do we, as everybody, come together regardless of our differences and seek to make a better existence, seek to make a better world? And that's an answer that throughout history, many, many, many people have had different answers on.
As Tobirama says, that is not his choice to make. Individuals must be given the opportunity out of their own volition to choose.
Yeah.
Much like Hashirama once chose to end the battle between the Uchiha and the Senju. Hashirama's dream looked forward, as his philosophy of the will of fire set the future generations of shinobi, not only of the leaf, but he inspired other villages. The god of shinobi gave Konoha the tools to succeed, and to be better than they were. He gave the future generation the ability to choose what it is that they want to do in that world. It would later be revealed that Madara was taken advantage of by Black Zetsu, who kills him in order to revive Kaguya Otsutsuki.
That was a plot twist that really nobody liked, in my opinion. There wasn't really a safe way to write Madara out at that point, and I absolutely agree. We kind of got shafted out of a really good fight. Full power, double Rinnegan, 6 paths Madara versus full power 6 paths Sasuke and Naruto, right? That would have been an amazing fight. We're talking you're going to have to rewrite sections of the map. And a lot of people just kind of felt a little bit betrayed by that. Like, Kaguya really kind of was the next step, though. Kaguya was the culmination of what Madara was trying to achieve, though. And it took him out of the picture so that she could insert that reality onto people. Because effectively, the Tsuki no Mei did just that. It was going to create a world without winners, without losers, a stagnant world. Kaguya was going to do the same thing with the Divine Tree, right? And took Naruto and Sasuke to fight this otherworldly interdimensional being and finally putting her down and sealing her again, which, as far as I'm aware, she's still sealed, so she could still technically come back. She's still sealed away. just don't think about that. Don't think about that too much. And it really, I think, was honestly narratively the next step, though. As much as people love Madara, as much as people wanted that fight, me included, I think Kaguya was that next step, and Madara became that sacrifice to make that reality happen. I think it also landed flat because to be told it was me all along, and then, have that villain, get shafted by a secondary villain, and actually it was me all along. I think that's also kind of why the sequel trilogy in Star Wars hit so weird for some people, because it was one thing for Snoke to orchestrate everything, but it was another for Palpatine to come in and just be like, actually it was me. Yeah. Right? How it kind of falls a little flat if you do that too many times. You can't exactly have you can't exactly have the same feelings you have towards Vader, seeing him in 4, 5, and 6, and then you see the Emperor in 6 and have that same feeling, that same dread. It's a different dread, knowing the Emperor as a nebulous concept and finally being revealed in Return of the Jedi, right? You can't replace what you're feeling from one character and or villain onto another character. So we heard Madara for, 300 episodes from first reveal to actual appearance, right? And suddenly it's Black Zetsu that takes him out of the picture, and it was me, I was the mastermind all along. Your feelings towards Madara, towards his philosophy, towards his actions, don't necessarily narratively translate over to Black Zetsu, to Kaguya. And that there is a disconnect there. Just think, food for thought, things to think about narratively.
I think one of Madara's best moments comes right before his death, where he lays alongside Hashirama as the one's conflicting ideologies of the village hidden in the leaves. The will of fire against the eternal dream.
No, the lack of foreshadowing didn't help either.
This moment is great because Madara is a character who has become truly alone in all aspects. I stated that Madara studied people and learned about their motivations and thoughts. He was the one who told Obito how to control people. He understood the impacts of loneliness combined with darkness and failure, but he too was a victim of it. Itachi once stated that people live their lives bound by what they see as right and as true based on their reality. Madara was someone who was bound by this, and he was not able to see a world outside of him being right. Having been shaped by the constant state of war and of death, and especially having lost his family, and Izuna especially in battle.
Itachi is one of those interesting ones. I'd love to deep dive his philosophy. It's been a while. God, Itachi is very interesting.
His reaction of wanting life to be an eternal dream is normal. His plan reflected his current state of mind. But the idea that Madara needed to impose what he thought as right onto the rest of the world, especially one that didn't agree with him, is where Madara begins to lose himself. His mind was so warped and so focused on this one goal in a period in time that no one from his lifetime should be alive.
No.
All of the connections he made were all pawns in his plan.
You effectively are going to have somebody from 1850 alive in 2020, right? Do you think that maybe they're necessarily going to grasp certain things, certain advancements, right? Like, let's just put it this way. 1850s, how many people are going to be okay with... I don't even know if I can say that, right? How many people are going to be okay with non-segregated bathrooms? Let's put it that way, right? From 1850 coming into current day, right? That's where I'm going to leave that. Don't delve into that further. And actually in modernity, right? Like, just put that into perspective. How many advancements have been made since certain periods of time? So yeah, absolutely we should learn from the past. Absolutely we should, when elders deserve it, respect them. There are certain things that just advancements are made, and the world changes, the world evolves, and we become more interconnected as we seek a common goal, a common purpose. There are things that will fade into obscurity. We will look back on and say, maybe that wasn't the best thing that we did, right? Maybe that wasn't the best thing. And that's how we learn, and that's how we grow. Yes, learn from the past, repeat the lessons from it. You're absolutely correct.
Which is ironic because he was the pawn in a bigger plan. In their death, Hashirama tells the ghost of the Uchiha that he should have been able to come to terms with the fact that there were things he couldn't achieve. He was so controlling in the sense that he wanted to do everything by his hand alone. But the Uchiha ancestor was never one to accept failure. He failed in saving his brother, failed in creating the village and the country the way he wanted, and he just couldn't accept that. At least Hashirama had the level-headed Tobirama behind him to inform and to calibrate his every single decision. Madara hated having anyone behind him, and this was ultimately his downfall. And so he waged war on the one person that genuinely trusted him. And that same person was the last person to be by his side, to be behind him, even in death. Hashirama alone understood the true Madara, a once good individual who had a kind and good heart, but was a victim of circumstance and of loneliness. A person who was motivated by peace, but who lost his way. And in losing his way, Madara would do unspeakable things to the world at large. But at least in death, they wouldn't be enemies, only friends. The tragedy and irony of it all is that he did create peace in the ninja world, all through a pursuit of said peace. It was a war against Madara that brought the nations together, which effectively broke the cycle that he wanted so badly to end. But they did it in the right way. Madara Uchiha was a man who could not trust, a man who had an eternal dream, and even with perfect eyes, couldn't see anyone else fulfill it.
Reminded that the 1900s started with humans still trying to create a plane. 7 years later, there are people who landed on the moon. Yes. Yeah, society advances really quick. So something that I'm gonna mention about the Naruto series that's gonna make you think. Give it a second. I want to make sure that if there's any after, he has a chance to explain what he's gonna explain. Okay. Madara's body isn't accounted for. So we know that people holding on to the remains of specific powerful individuals is a thing that humans do, right? We're aware that people do that, right? If it's just something as basic as, a mummy in a museum, right? Oh, look at ancient Egyptian culture here in this museum, right? So we know there's also disquiet, right? We know there's disquiet in the shinobi world, especially going into Boruto, and that's why, Inoki's making his artificial puppets and stuff like that. Like there's people out there that still have trauma from the war and are still wanting to do less than legit things. Where did his body go? Where did Madara's body go? Who has it? I'm assuming it's in the possession of the Leaf at this point in time. But where is it? Is it safe? Is it secure? Did someone steal it? Could we potentially see Madara get Edo Tensei again? No, yes, Madara died. Madara, right? Yeah, and that's the thing is, Kabuto's also around. Yes, he is changed by the Izanami, but Kabuto's around. he also has an entire orphanage full of effectively Uchiha, right? The Shin Uchiha clones cultivated from Shin 1.0's DNA, right? Kabuto now has access to effectively a small army of Sharingan users. Just things for you to think about. Maybe drink a little bit too. No, I actually love this video. I really did. Madara is an interesting character, and people rightfully love his character. I think he's one of those characters that he determines the correct problems, but not necessarily the correct solutions. And he will do his best on his own to bring about a solution and enact that solution, as he clearly has the skill, power, finesse, and intelligence to do so. But Madara is only one person, and that was ultimately something that led to his downfall. Or Naruto, right? Naruto is someone that requires other people. He needs other people to help him. Madara necessarily didn't, but Madara's loneliness and his inability to let others help or have others help led to things that he couldn't do. Naruto and Sasuke working together can do things Madara alone couldn't, really. So, if anything you could take away with Madara's downfall, at least part of it, was due to him being stubborn, was due to him thinking he could do everything alone, when in reality he really couldn't. And the best thing he could have done was, first of all, for Hashirama to address the elephant in the room and smack Tobirama across the face, let's be real, for Tobirama things, but to make sure that Madara wasn't alone, and for him to continue to talk to Hashirama, and that could have maybe even helped Hashirama not become a person he couldn't even recognize by the end. But they did end the Fourth Shinobi World War as drinking buddies, and they moved on. And that was, in their situation, that was a good enough. They did what they could, they recognized their mistakes, and they were able to move on. But alas, what are your thoughts? What are your thoughts on the Wake Up to Reality speech that he's so widely known for? Do you think it's also mid-2000s MCR emo? Or do you think that it's like, it is the best speech in anime? Personally, I'd argue there's at least 3 from Code Geass that beat it alone. What are your thoughts on Madara's abilities? What are your thoughts on where Madara's body went or is currently? Let me know in the comment section, and I will see you in the next one.